I wanna talk about a little history and want to kind of find the parallels between these histories and the U.S. population or U.S. Society, the way it exists right now. And this is kind of very interesting because it points the way to where things are going to end up, and it's not very pretty, and there is a precedence in the history of where we have been, and it's exactly where we're going to be going. So I wanted to talk about the capitalism and also about a certain minority that in these countries will come to kill a lot of people. To point out this, I want to kind of remember the Iraq and what happened after the invasion of Iraq. First of all, the Iraqi society was very fragmented. There's like I don't know, half and half is divided between Kurds, which are in the north, and then the other half is Shia, which is in the south. That's about 40 to 50% of each. And then it used to be, now about 15% were Baathis, or they were hardline Sunnis or Sunni tribes, which Saddam Hussein was also part of it. And because the Sunnis, they're more violent and very organized, and they have managed in many countries, Muslim countries, to annex political power, and they call the shots, and they also diverted all the resources of the society, including all the oil revenues, to build up a massive army, a lot of technology, and they went through foreign wars, practiced militarism, and everything worked out for them, and the Americans helped them, then the Saudis helped them, but things didn't go well, just like many places like that. I think that the United States is an example of this kind of society like that, and Israel and Saudi Arabia are also societies that they have a small minority, like a fraction of the population obtains, which is more violent and more organized, has a certain ideology that glorifies themselves. They come into political power and they run a really nasty show for a long time. But when things fell apart, because the United States came in and ruined the place, then most Iraqis were not killed or injured by a foreign invasion, which is itself very bad. But a lot of Iraqis were killed because portions of the Saddam's military went underground. I think there was a general, I think his name was Baghdadi or something like that. They went underground, and they did not like the fact that they had lost political power and it will never come back probably. So they wanted to ruin prospects of other minorities like the Kurds or the Shia. They especially hated the Shia. So what happened, what followed, is an extensive series of bombings everywhere. I mean, there wasn't a day that I would open up Google News and see a whole new bazaar or mosque or all kinds of places were completely obliterated by bombs, or by trucks that came in and obliterated the place. And the U.S. Military kind of looked away because they were also in cahoot with the Saudis, and the Saudis wanted to establish control or influence in Iraq, and then it became a huge mess. I guess there was this guy Zarqawi. He was Lebanese, and he was the right man for Bin Laden, and then things went on like that. And the amount of, or the number of people that got killed was tremendous. Was like almost 1 million. And then these populations, the Shia population and the Kurds, they did not have organized military, or the Kurds had some organization that tried to protect the population, and they also because they don't speak Arabic, and Arabs would be like an eyesore over there, so it was some kind of protection. And they also, I think, closed the sections of Iraq off, so these assholes, they could not travel up there and do more bombings. And they had the Peshmerga, which is like a militia, so they kind of got away without large numbers of their people get killed or places get bombed, stuff like that. Well, the Kurds are a lot like Persians. They're actually one of the Persian tribes in the European. Their language is also close. But the Shia, they did not do well, and many places got bombed, even places that were Islamic sanctuaries. Or one of the ones I remember was the burial place of the last Imam, or the mosque of last Imam, and they bombed it twice. And this is when society has developed to such a point, like a regime of Saddam Hussein, that has become a kind of like a fascist state. It has a very strong government, very much militant or militaristic government. These wars, do they kind of resemble where the United States is going? Is very strong military, has a presence in many countries, wages many wars, and then also has this minority, like the elite. And they're not just 1%, which are their bankers or their bourgeoisie, but is like a group of people that, like, they are the favored, they're pampered, like Saddam's imperial, Saddam's guardians, or there were like 4,000 troops, and then the Baathis, like a certain group of people, and they were also connected to his family or his tribe, Tikrit, and they were very valuable. So when the whole thing fell apart because of the invasion, this group, they could not accept that they will not have political power, they wouldn't have wealth, they were done. It was like a end of the world to them, and they could not accept that. So they were the ones that initiated many of these killings. And in fact, there has been statistics that's in the Wikipedia, shows that most people that died in Iraq after the invasion were not military. They didn't die even from being bombed or anything like. They were shot at close range with a rifle or a semi-automatic, something like that. They were actually, there was a person came in and shot them and killed them. That's like this group, and they did not accept that they don't matter, and they wanted to enforce or show the population, hey, we are still in charge, we can kill you and nothing will happen to us. And this is similar to the U.S. society, which there is a white minority that will be around, and they will remember when they were in charge, they were the dominant political and economic force. If you look at YouTube, you'll see that there's all these websites that are so worried about the collapse, and that oh my God, the world is going to end. The middle class is being decimated. What will happen to us? Well, I talked about this stuff in another video. Was called trickle down hatred. When a society is fractured or fractionated, and there are distinct groups, and when the government or the bourgeoisie or the establishment continuously caters to them and tells them, hey, you are so special, you are us, you are the real America, you are the patriot. These other guys, they don't mean anything. Well, we are all waiting for your return, for our Messiah. And if you look at some of the videos that some of the Trump supporters, they called each other patriots. They don't even say that, hey, there is a democracy here, like we should, everybody has a vote or a right. And I heard in some of them that say, oh, the duty of the president is only to defend the Constitution. Well, in other videos, like for example, if you look at even like Peter Schiff, he doesn't like democracy very much. He equates democracy with socialism, and then socialism is evil too, because it doesn't let the bourgeoisie do everything that they want to make sure that the money is in the right place and the investments are made the right way. But we have had socialism for many years, but just not for the people. We have had socialism for corporations. We have had socialism for the very well-to-do. We had interest rate apartheid. A big bank or a wealthy Jew can go to the central bank, get all kinds of loans, and they take these monies, which are very low interest, and they buy their own shares back, they buy any kind of property, they invest in buildings that nobody ever going to use, engage in warfare that has no end or no reason for it. If you sat down and calculate the amounts of monies and resources that have gone into these projects, they overshadow any kind of social programs or any kind of monies given to the sick. Or we could compare the military budget, which has been increasing under Trump, to the other programs, and this is just the beginning, because military budget is not all showing up. A lot of it is black book, which means only a few people in the government know that this money went there. It was a 20 trillion missing or 9 trillion missing, or who knows how many missing trillions, because this small minority is in establishment or in the bourgeoisie, they control these things, and they have socialism for themselves, and they are not going to fail in any time soon. But the other part that also shows up is this ideology that hey, we are somehow divine, and the stuff we do is beautiful, and we should keep going with it. Many capitalist systems, they degenerate into fascism. Okay, it's not that somebody else from Iran or Russia or from Mars came in and made these people do these things. Nobody made Saddam like invade foreign countries and get millions of Iraqis killed. He lost 400,000 soldiers just with Iran war, and kind of completely destroyed Iraqi economy. This is the only one war that he started. It is the nature of capitalist system to degenerate into forms of fascism. We shouldn't restrict ourselves to like models that Mr. Schiff constructs, that if in a very pristine society, when the capitalism was really working and we really had free markets, open market sources determine the prices, then this beautiful capitalism would work, and so on. But that's not how real capitalism works. And if there were open market or free market forces operating in the United States, almost all these corporations would be totally decimated, because in a totally free market forces force the prices of services and products and anything to go towards zero. It's called the race to the bottom. As the technology becomes more advanced, the cost of commodities, the cost of manufactured goods, the cost of agricultural products collapses. It doesn't become better, and also because the bourgeoisie are in control and control the political system, then they will drive the wages and any leeway for other people to have any social mobility to also collapse. So what happens next is called either Castro comes in, or Khomeini comes in, or Lenin comes in, is because the capitalism that was the real capitalism that was working in those countries degenerated and created such a environment. It's just like if you have a fish and you put the fish into the fish bowl and there is water, certain water. In the beginning the water is pristine and clean like the real capitalism, and the fish eats the food and shits out the refuse into the water. And then if there isn't a very strong moral and social inhibitions and corrective efforts by the population or by religion or by Christianity or by extremely divine and benevolent ruler, this shit that the fish creates, it pollutes the entire water, its entire environment, and also tries to go elsewhere. So this is how this tree that's called capitalism ends up. it ends up in revolt, in revolutions, in things completely falling apart, and either in communism or in like Iranian Revolution or French Revolution. A lot of it has economic reasons that are flaws that are inherent in a capitalism that's not controlled by very strong moral and social laws, and has not been moderated, and the money is not, or resources is not distributed. So what will happen at some point? The population figures it out. Hey, we are the losers in this system, and this is how it ends. But this is only for the people in that same country, is not for the people in the foreign countries that have been the recipient, like the Iranians and the Kurds and the Shia, that are recipient of the aggression and violence and shipping up of their inflations and problems inside Iraq or inside the United States. At some point, those countries to also retaliate. So there is too many problems with this system. It's dying. It's okay to let it die. What the problem with these ideologies that these commentators they construct, it is a big problem, because this ideology remains. At some other point, some other idiot comes along and picks it up and then reenacts this mess all over again. Well, maybe I wanted to decide whether I call this video "The Enemy Within" or call it "The Fruits of a Poisonous Tree." All these things with fascism and militarism and racism, these are manifestations of an economic system that's very flawed. Well, in Christianity and Islam, the only way that these religions kind of try to moderate it is through philanthropy and charity. Well, actually, Prophet Muhammad said that if you are wealthy or well-to-do, and you have to give a khums, like a fifth of your net profit every year to charity or taxes, and then he also added that you are supposed to give 5% of your net worth or net profit to charity. So when you add it up, it's like 25% of net profit, which is not much. We had like 40% taxes, and then Trump came in and gave like, I don't know, 25% of that away. That's like only 15% taxes on the corporations. Did that really change us? Did it make things better in the United States? Are people a lot happier? No. But when you confront a lot of analysts, they say, okay, so if we didn't give away the shop to these guys, then they won't come in, and they won't invest, and they will not hire all these workers, and they will not, So it's like a kind of bribe that you give to the corporations so that they will have some kind of job for you. What if you knew better, and we're gonna tax the fuck out of you and use the money to do anything we want, build infrastructures, give the money away, like add it to the wages itself. So it doesn't matter what the corporation pays, there is a excess that the government gives, and or have QE for the masses instead of the money going into share buybacks and then disappearing, because later on people figure out, hey, this company is not worth that much. So where the fuck all that money go? It went into money haven, right? There is better ways of spending the money. It's also more efficient, because when the money comes in and it's really distributed widely, then there is a kind of democratization of investment. The people will spend this money or invest the money in places that the society itself needs. For example, you don't know what industries that they might pop up that that the society thinks this is the next best thing. Maybe we don't want to invest in buildings. Maybe we want to invest this money in outrageously advanced devices that repair disabilities for people, like bionic devices, or different modes of transportation. Well, I think the ideology that remains, that these guys construct, it will come to haunt us even more. And just because a certain kind of capitalism died, that doesn't mean the whole society is going to disappear or die too. Okay, this is just a form of it. Well, I like the democratization of money. So money is even though it might not be in the free markets, it's in the many hands, in the hands of many people, and would get invested in industries that you might not think that you need these industries. The way things are now, money is concentrated and is going back into older industries that are failures. And in the outside world, the world is going about itself, and the prices of commodities and services and electronics and packaged goods is dropping to zero, and but we still are financing and helping older decrepit industries. I would change the American name for our industries as the zombie establishment industries. Well, anyhow, thank you very much for being in my YouTube channel. My stuff is kind of research, and please subscribe and make sure you leave a comment. Thanks.